Well, darn it. It's like you caught me in my glasses because I've already hit the go button, which sucks. Okay. Do I have an audio? Do I have an audio? Yes. Well, there's only one way for me to know. Right. Let's... Sorry about this. So, I actually didn't mean to hit the go button. I was just setting this up and never done live before. And so, I've gone and been a wally. So let me make sure this is all done. So today I have put out a new blog post and a new video, which you can check out. And it's about how to get local SEO improved for your business. Now, this is actually something that I'm having to do for myself because I've only just fired up the Boosh Digital website in Devon. So I work remotely. I work remotely for a company in Sussex. I've only been up there twice, and I've been there 3.5 years. So before that, I was operating more as a freelancer in Devon, very haphazard about web design and everything. But I was very much more on recommendation and just playing around with all of those sorts of things, and learning the craft really. And so now I've decided that I kind of want to really push for my own solo agency, and I've been working on that for about a year, very casually, and now I've moved away from the Chris Goodness, and would like to actually have an agency name. So I'm Boosh Digital, and so I'm now having to establish local SEO for myself. Hold on, I've got to check audio. Don't have that correct. Shh. So I'm trying to test the audio by viewing myself, which seems so egotistical, but can't actually do that. I don't think I've got the correct link because I'm a noob. And there I was thinking I would do something of interest on my first stream. Right, switch account. There we go. I'm almost there. There we are. Cool. Right. now all of that is sorted. Cool. Right. Right, now let's get down to it. So, yes, as I was saying, I've just released a blog post and a video on this channel where you can learn a bit more about local SEO. And again, the battle that I have at the moment is that this is exactly what I am having to put together for myself, even, right? Even though I understand this and I do this at work. Local SEO is something that I'm having to embark upon right now. And so doing all of the right things doesn't mean that you don't get, it's a very stop-start process. I used to be a personal trainer, and a good analogy for SEO and certainly local SEO is that it's not a quick fix. You do this, you do that, and then you get the results. It's more like, and clients have liked me describing it like this, SEO is a bit like throwing a rock into water and trying to move a log by creating ripples with that rock. Okay, so it's like there are so many variables between what you can control, your hand throwing the rock, and then you're trying to affect all of these ripples and create those in order to move something where you want it to be on the surface of the water. That is the battle of SEO. But it's such an interesting subject, so many variables, and it's really, really changed over throughout 2026. So yeah, fun to do, but the real promise to make to clients, like a personal trainer, is I will be with you throughout this process. We're going to keep looking at the data. We're going to keep tweaking the actual. We're going to keep tweaking the process and keep aiming for those results. But it's just not something that we can, obviously make promises on so much in terms of the specific results. Anyway, so I did have some bits to hold together here before I accidentally pressed go on the live stream before I'd prepped up anyway. So yeah, sorry for the lack of prep here. That big red button just has to be pressed though, doesn't it? So first of all, I'll introduce myself a little bit. So again, I'm Chris. I've worked predominantly in web development, but within that, I've learned all about SEO, and this is actually where I have a lot of preference for operating. So in SEO and digital strategy and conversion, and if you're building and developing websites correctly, if you're designing and then developing them, you should be doing that with SEO and conversion in mind. So you should become a pro. The benefit, though, obviously, of understanding all of this from the technical side is that you're not relying on other people. So, marketing executives who perhaps come into it just from the SEO side, they don't understand the technical aspects of putting a site together in the way that I'm grateful I've come to know. So that's where I've kind of come, and now I'm moving more into the digital strategy. I've picked up more clients in my time, although I run the web department for this marketing company. But yeah, learning a ton, and my podcasts of choice would be something to do with SEO and digital strategy. So really keeping my finger on the pulse with regard to local struggles with SEO. So Boosh Digital, the entire idea of Boosh Digital is that you get the beginning to end SEO approach, very holistic approach, all the way from designing the website and creating that concept, all the way through to conversion and retaining clients. What I've really put together is the idea of build, boost, and engage. And this, going through that 3-step process, is how you will ensure that your business is equipped with everything you need for local SEO, for conversion, for retaining clients. And you just always need to be going through that process of building what you need in order to then boost and get the visibility. But then the process is the engagement with your leads or your existing customers. So why don't we actually take a quick look at the Boosh website. If I can figure out how to do that. Where are we? Here we are. Woo! So this is Boosh Digital, and as you can see, I'm not going for the most corporate whatever vibe. I don't think it needs to be that. I want people to experience a nice, fun, way, generate some leads. Let's get some energy going, because web design and your SEO and all of that, it should be a very vibrant part of your business. There are too many people that want to have a website built for them and then it just goes static, especially in the age of local SEO, of AI search. We can't have stagnant assets. We need to keep them going. And so, yeah, here we are with the build and the boost and the engage. Okay, so you can't boost something that doesn't exist, and you can't engage with something that doesn't have some substance behind it. So we do have to plan for building not just our website, but our digital assets. And that might well be something like a lead generation, lead magnet it's called. So for example, here I have it's a 12 question process, and you can answer the questions, and it's going to give you some actionable tips wherever you land as a result of those questions. It's going to give you some actionable tips, so you can walk away today with a better idea on how to improve your lead generation process in your business. Okay, but it took a bit of, it took a while to get these 12 questions together and then get the guidance together that you can have later on. And then, of course, if you want to action those on your own, that's great. If you want to then approach me at Boosh Digital to help you action them, then that's also obviously great. But this is what's known as a lead generation, a lead magnet. And so what we want to do when we look at your business, when we look at how you are processing everything in your business from customers all the way through to retaining customers, is we want to be like, okay, you're going to have a lead generation process in place. By the end of our time together, you're going to have lead generation magnets, and this is what they will consist of. But first, before you can use them, we've got to build them. Okay, so I accidentally clicked. So that's kind of where we need to go with this. We need to plan all of the different stages. So for example, we need to think, okay, we're going to do SEO and content marketing. You're going to have a blog space, very much like mine here. All right. You might even have a YouTube channel, very much like what I'm doing here. But before we can even think about the process, we've got to go through that build phase. All right. So really before this comes the planning, which is what works for your business. What can you meaningfully keep doing as a daily practice for your content creation, for your marketing, for your lead generation. It's pointless having a lead magnet that is on your website and getting responses, but if you in your business don't have time or staff or energy or whatever to actually, or digital expertise, technical expertise to respond to these, then it's not something that should be put in place, and we need to think of an alternative. So build, boost, and engage, and we've really got to kind of reverse engineer this all the way back from what do we want your digital strategy to look like? What do we need in order for that to actually work? So the assets, and then we get on with the building of it. So that's the process by which I break down all of the services offered by Boosh. Essentially, it's we build we plan how you can work, what is really sustainable for you in your daily practice, in your business, in terms of lead generation, content creation. Can you write the content yourself? So there are lots of different ways to do content. This is content. Content marketing with blogs is another way to do that. And then obviously that you might do something like a podcast. And again, it's about considering what you can actually support in your daily practice, in your business, and then putting the systems in place to, act on that. And so again, all of this is, we need to build all of the digital tools and the assets. We need to go through a process of boosting your visibility, boosting your brand presence through content marketing, YouTube, podcasts, all of those different things. And then we need to ensure that once all of these are working, we've built, we've boosted, and you're getting the leads, well, we better have everything in place so that you can engage with your leads and your customers. And that's the difference between lead generation and retention, by the way. So you might have 10 people in a day in the lead, categorized as a lead. They're not yet your customer, they're interested, they're a prospect, and you need to be engaging with them, obviously. So that might be, for example, somebody uses a questionnaire very much like this. You've got their details and you might need to follow up with them in 3 days. And so you need to be ensuring that you've got that engagement process and policy and protocol all sorted out so that you know that yourself or one of your team are actually doing it. And then we have engagement of existing customers. So, for example, what I was doing just before I went live here was getting in touch with a number of customers that I haven't interacted with for 3 months and just doing a check-in. So, how is it going? Have you got anything in mind that you'd like some help with? What's up? What's going on? And that is engagement that leads to customer retention. All right, because you are more likely to convert an existing customer than some newbie on the street or any of these leads that we've gotten through an audit. So yeah, very, very interesting. You need to have all of these different aspects in your business happening all of the time. Now, that's something people don't think about either. So again, if a lot of clients have their own way, they would have me build them a site, and then it kind of stays stagnant for a year or two. But we should always be looking at the data. We should always be looking at how that site is ranking, what pages need some tweaking in the content, what pages have people scroll only about maybe 40%, and then they need to, we need to think like, what's the barrier? Why are people not going beyond that point? And then we need to fix that. We need to put something else in place to continue that journey. And so there is always this kind of like flowing through build and boost and engage and keeping that active in the business. Now, whilst that might sound expensive for time and money, the truth is when you're doing that you're getting the ROI. So actually, this is something that might interest you. Lead generation. Try the lead generation calculator. All right. Now, in my recorded videos, I can sneeze and just cut it out, but you might have to witness the. Right. So let's put some things into perspective. All right. So, like, how many leads does a digital strategy get for your business? And then what does that actually mean in what matters, the bottom line, the bottom figure? So, for example, what's the average price of a sale item for you and your business? So if you're working in a salon, something like that, it might be, say, £50. And how many times does a customer use you per year? And maybe people come in about twice a year. So we've got £50 twice a year, and maybe you get them for 1 year. Okay, so £50 twice a year, 1 year. The maths is pretty good on this. Oh no, how embarrassing. Your potential value. I was coding on this yesterday and it was working. That's great. Only on the live. No, what one? There we are. 50. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's good. I want to change this to be not a slide. I thought a slider would be fun, but it's actually a bit annoying. I want to put in precise numbers. Anyway, so these are your numbers. These are your business numbers, and these are numbers you probably should know about your business. So average price is £50. Okay, how many times does a customer buy per year? So how many times do they visit you? So that's maybe twice. I keep knocking it with something. I think my touchpad, and then you keep every customer for around 1 year. Okay. Now, obviously, that means that per customer, you're making 100. Okay, if you've got one of these. Now, let's say we work on your digital strategy and we increase that to 22, not 20, because that would be great, but I need to change this, obviously. That means that a digital strategy bringing in 20 clients per year would bring in £2,000. Okay, so if on these available business numbers we manage to build you a website, work a digital strategy, get some traffic in, increase your conversions, and all while you're sleeping, then we're increasing the value to your business is £2,000. So already you're kind of paying for that website, aren't you? But, and this is where it gets really interesting, we put into your digital strategy some ways to re-engage with your customers. Okay, so for example, seasonal purchases. Hey Bob, you haven't come in for a haircut. All right, Bob loves getting his hair done, and a beard trim. So of late, how about you come along and do that? We've got some space open, right? And we encourage him because we've got that digital system set up, and that's why businesses reach out to their customers. So if we increase the average times that a customer is coming back because we've got some processes in place, honestly, this could be an automated mailing list. It's quite fantastic. Then we increase that. Then we start to increase that bottom line, which is what it's all about. So what about putting some things in place? Again, all automated and digital when we can pull that off. We put things in place that help you retain customers. So what helps customers feel happier with a business? Well, we stay in touch with them. We remind them that we're there. We give them benefits and bonuses for being our customers. And the average retention for every customer goes from 1 to 2. And you can see again then that we start to really increase the we start to increase the bottom line numbers, and that's just from putting some simple things in place. So that's very much from the engagement side of it. And of course, if your lead magneting is working for you, and over the year you're bringing in say two a week, 100 ish, 100 ish. Oh my gosh, the slider has got to go. The slider absolutely has to go. So I was close, right? 103, that's fine. So 2 per week, which is not hard to do with a good website and digital strategy on these numbers, and this is what that is worth to your business. So yeah, really, as much as we don't all love going over the numbers really do help us make good assessments on things. So anyway, that's a little bit about Boosh Digital and the build, boost, engage process. And those are some of the benefits you can get out of that. So, I was going to do a bit of a show and tell on some websites actually. I don't know whether to do that. What have we got here? Right. I do have some questions. I've got some collated questions from that I've had of late. Okay, so this is more about websites, okay, and what you should put on your website. So a lot of people want to manage their website themselves, and that's not a bad thing to do at all. I ensure that clients can always edit the site themselves for day-to-day information. And actually, if you check out my latest blog article on this one, on local SEO quick wins, and there's a video there as well if you can stand to listen to me a bit longer. There's a bit of information about the Google Business Profile, and the thing about the Google Business Profile is that it should be kept up to date very, very consistently. It's a really good signal to Google that you are alive and kicking. And so for that reason, a Google Business Profile on your website should always be kept up to date in terms of up to date together. So that the details that you have on your website, and that could be something like your opening hours or holiday hours, and that should be reflected on your website as well as your GBP. So it's important that you're not having to get in touch with me at Boosh Digital and say, all right, the seasonal hours are changing. Can can I please pay you money to go and change the hours on the on the contact page or the about page? And it's like, no, that should be something you can do yourself, isn't it? And so, where was I? So content on your website is something that you should be making decisions about. But there are some things about website content that it helps to put thought into them first and consider your strategy. The price being on the website is something that a lot of people will squabble about. In my view, I put ballpark figures on on my websites. There's a really good reason for that. It is pros and cons, but one of them is that it's a qualifying criteria. And if you disqualify a customer, if you disqualify somebody because they're not in your service area or ideal service area, or they don't want to pay the amount that you have figured as your bottom line, then it saves you time and money, especially if you are still taking phone calls and answering the phone, and perhaps you're running a local trade service business, and time is money. You're on the job and yet the phone goes, and you're in that position where you have to pick it up and you have to answer, otherwise you might lose a job. But it's somebody that as soon as they hear the price, they just go, no, okay, so I have to talk to someone else and then I'll be back. And you know that you've just wasted 5 to 10 minutes considering a job that you're not going to be having. So in that sense, it's not a bad thing to have at least starting figures, at least ballpark figures on your website. Now, that's not to say that you can't say something like, get in touch for a quote or do something a bit more ambiguous. But it makes sense to at least put that disqualifying criteria onto your website. It saves you time and money. And the simple fact is that you can be more productive with both of those. So should you put prices on your website, or will it scare people off? You should, because it will scare people off. Now, another way to do this on things like contact forms, and this is something that this is something you can't do so much on the phone. So when you're channeling a lot of your lead generation to things like contact forms, you end up with a lot more opportunities for qualifying criteria, and then the opportunity to send them to different locations or places as a result of that. So for example, if you have a price range on your if you have a budget price range on a contact form, this depends on your role, obviously. You might have some different services, some of them more automated or some of them more premium, depending on somebody's budget. So if somebody checks that box on the contact form that says that their budget is zero to £500, that would mean you're doing it for free. £100 to £500, then you don't have to completely sort of like disqualify that person, but you can have them go to another page that says you're not exactly a best fit, or we can't help you at that price, but keep in touch with us and we'll let you know of any seasonal offers or discounts, and you keep them on your mailing list, on your newsletter. The alternative, and again, it depends on what you do, but you might have some other resources, maybe like an online community, or some other free resources, or a do-it-yourself course, which doesn't take much for you to make, but then they might pay £49 for an online video course. Again, it depends on what you do, but then they're getting something, and they are getting something. They're getting a solution. They're using you. You are favorable to them, but obviously you are also still making some sort of a sale. So yeah, lots of options there. So if you decide, obviously, trade website, that might not be so helpful. But you can do a sort of you can get them on your mailing list, or you can give them advice and different things, different resources like that. Cool. So yeah, I'm in favor of at least ballpark or from prices being very open. I would never go into a restaurant if I hadn't taken a peek at the menu first. So yeah, something to consider there. Oh, this is a good one. Yeah. I'm an electrician covering Exeter and Torquay. Do I need separate pages for every town? This was asked of me when I was scoping up a website for somebody that ended up not wanting to go with the website, or at least not with me. But yeah, this is an interesting one, and I've just written about this on that blog that I mentioned about local SEO. So what you don't want to do is have these old spammy copy and paste sort of location pages that a lot of people have done. So a lot of people used to, and I still sometimes find on website rebuilds, I'll go into the website and see that they've got like 50 pages and they're all duplicates of the page, but with the locations swapped out. That will have Google binning your business faster than anything. This is not the way to do it. But you can have pages that are discussing and making specific mention of locations, but there are some really awesome ways to. There are reasons why that would be most relevant to do. So if we're thinking trade and services, then you might have a phase A, or a, what would you call it? A primary service location area where your response time is, say, 30 minutes. And that's because obviously you can roll out of bed and get to a certain radius of location within 30 minutes. So you can offer your on-call service. Now, it would be totally legit on your website to have a locations page where you're talking about different areas and different locations with legitimacy with regard to what service you can offer to that different area. So there might be different costs involved. There might be different time frames involved. There could be stuff where different locations that you serve are typically have different types of jobs, and so a town near you might have a certain, if you're a roofer or something, might have a certain type of roof that's commonplace there, and that's something you would make mention of on that location specific page. So I am all for location specific pages. I think they're fantastic, but you have to make sure that they are under the umbrella of actually helpful content. And funnily enough, a lot of the Google algorithms, that their changes are often trying to tweak it so that it's under the umbrella of helpful content. So people trying to game the system make it very complex. Essentially, if you've got content on your site that makes someone read it and go, oh, that's good, I was wondering about that, then that's great. And if you can make that location specific, great. If it's location specific or anything specific where it's worthwhile having another page for that information, so the pages don't get too long, then it's justified in having its own page. So between Exeter and Torquay, there are a ton of other different considerations and different reasons. One of them would be that Exeter or Torquay is closer, it is your primary stomping ground. And so you would offer on-call services there. You would offer different prices. You would offer different rates, probably, because you've got to factor in that fuel costs and other costs and things like that. So yeah, very legitimate reasons to have location-specific pages. And so yes, if you can justify it, do it. That's important to think about. Actually, something on that is that if you have two different offices, if you have an office in Exeter and an office in Torquay, you should have two different Google Business profiles as well. And then you should have the appropriate pages on your website. So that's very, very justified, obviously, if you have different office locations. Cool. Right, I've got to go soon. So one more question that I pulled out from all of the make it an easy one so that what do we got? Oh, that's interesting. Now you're curious, maybe. How many Google reviews do I actually need to beat my local competitors? Just loads. Just get loads. You need loads. But now with SEO is changing, and it's not so much about the keywords on your page and fighting over page one, position one. It's more about entities now and making links to lots of different entities online. So you don't actually want to keep all of your reviews just on Google. You for trading services, you should be on different directories as well, and they usually offer different review systems. And then you've got things like Trustpilot and all of the others. So it's good to actually have, say, two customers do a review on Google, and then one on Trustpilot, one on a different directory. And just when you're asking for the review, not that you're meant to, but just direct them to different places, give them a different link. And that way you have reviews about your business all shared across lots of different platforms, and that's linking to your business, increasing this digital web that's connected to your business. Really, really important. Cool. I think I'll actually save other questions because some of these are cool and I'd like to yap on them a little bit longer, to be honest, more than I've got time now. So yeah, a little bit covered there. If you've stumbled across this and you've had a little peek, then hi, welcome. I'm Chris, and it's a pleasure to meet you. So I'm Chris of Boosh Digital. Boosh Digital is my agency front in Devon, the southwest, which is where I was born and bred. And yeah, in the conversation of local SEO, I'm now pushing that for myself, and it is a tough battle, especially in web design and marketing. Lots of seagulls fighting for the same bag of chips. But yeah, it's an exciting little game, and one that is, with in fair warning, is very much changing at the moment, simply because AI and AI search and the way that people are using the internet and searching for answers has drastically changed. Where that hasn't changed, though, so much is for local trade and service businesses. So, a piece of advice is get your local SEO up to speed, get a really strong website presence. And the best thing I could say on that is go along to this page, boostdigital.co.uk blog, and check out this blog post. There is a video as well where I'll yap about all of what's in here. But here are some really good actionable tips and things for you to start learning about to make sure that your trade services business is off to a good start in your local area. So totally would recommend that you have a crack at that. Now, this is about getting traffic to your website, to your entity, your business, but once people are on your site, it's all about actually getting leads, okay? And that's it's the two-part battle there. So once people are at your site, you need to give them a way to stay in touch with you and stay in your orbit. Not everyone is ready to press that big green button or big purple button. Okay, so if I said to you, go along to Boosh Digital right now, and get in touch with me and commit to perhaps talking about your project, you'll probably be like, nah, I'm not ready for that yet. But here's something you can have for free, okay? If you're curious about about whether your business is ready to generate leads properly, if whether it's your website or how you're working on social media, if you're curious about that and you've got time to answer just 12 questions, you will get a lead readiness score. All right. So you get a score and you get some tips already straight to your inbox. Okay. You don't even have to talk to me. That's fine. You're bored of my voice already. But chuck in your name and your email, you'll get some helpful tips afterwards. But you actually, at the end of the questionnaire, you will have tips given to you straight away. Okay, but then you'll get some further information sent to you. So pop along to boostdigital.co.uk and just simply hit free audit. Answer those 12 questions. It will take you 2 minutes, and you'll get the information emailed to you, a bit of direction for you. Cool. All right. So that was my mouth, not the other end. Right. I will catch you later. Thanks for popping along. And I'm saying that to nobody at the moment, but it's not like I even announced this. I think I'm going to carry on with some lives. So probably Tuesdays would be the time when I can regularly commit to doing a live, which sounds cool. And I think a regular feature of that would be to answer just quick queries and questions that people have about websites, digital strategy, how they're meant to, approach all of this stuff. So if you've got any questions, then throw them in comments and send them to me. Go to boostdigital.co.uk and send me a contact form message there. And chances are I'll be able to answer that on this next video series. Cool. Right. Catch you later. Bye. I think I've got to figure out how to turn this off.